This is the Patriot Rally run by the local Calhoun County Public Network at the GOP with best
hatred, races
EDU.
of a brother with a different color skin from ours. Ignorance is bliss to most. Some roll with the tide.
Lesser than society, because we want to exercise our natural rights, like breathing fresh air, socializing with one another, fellowship, different things that we always took for granted until, well, I guess earlier this year is when it really started coming to a head, right? And it didn't actually start this year, and I don't have a prepared speech. I'm just going to talk about stuff like I do my friends normally, but I am going to read something at the end that I didn't write. So let's see here. I do lawn service, snow removal, and I was just finishing doing my salting. It was the end of winter, early spring. And all of a sudden on TV, you guys remember, they're like, there's a virus, it's coming, I'm like, there's what? There's a virus. And I'm like, well, we have viruses every year, right? And we've had them forever. Like, they probably pre-exist everything, they say. Well, this virus was a little bit different. And it seemed like it didn't take long at all, like almost immediately. And we saw these people in government. Now, what is government? Government's supposed to be, at least in this country, of the people, by the people, for the people. And we're endowed by our Creator. These are natural rights. They pre-existed any one of us. As great as he was, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Madison, our rights actually pre-existed them. They formed this country on God-given rights, and that we would elect people. See, they were actually talking about at the very beginning, if you look in the Federalist Papers. They said, well, if men were angels, we wouldn't need a government at all. But since men are not angels, we are going to have to put a government in place. And they did, but that government was put in place to protect our God-given and our natural rights. And they never said they gave them to us. If you look at the Bill of Rights, which we love dearly, it doesn't say that the First Continental Congress and George Washington gave you the right to free speech. No, it says Congress shall pass no law abridging. You look at the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They didn't give us these rights. And this is the great George Washington and Alexander Hamilton and Ben Franklin. They didn't even give it to us. So let's fast forward this spring. All of a sudden we're looking and they're saying, well, hold on a minute. There's a virus. There's a plague. They call it like so many things. I can't even keep track of what it's called anymore. But in the end, we notice that we have some tyrants in power, especially in Lansing, Michigan, and that's why we need to recall Gretchen Whitmer and get her out, because she's not here as a public servant to protect our rights. It appears to me that she's a tyrant. And then when you say tyrant, people say, well, hold on a minute, that's just a put down. Well, it's not a nice thing, and it's not good. You shouldn't want to be a tyrant, but that is what she is. A tyrant is somebody who rules people outside of the rule of law. And there's literally hundreds, and I'm not going to mention all of them, but I'll mention a couple of things that she's done that are clearly outside of the rule of law. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting my salt spreader put away this spring, and it's kind of like this time of year, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my lawnmowers out, and I was out there getting ready because I barely make it through the winter, and that's when I have to feed my families in the summer. And the governor of Michigan comes out, and she says, we have a virus. And we need to do all these things, and it's illegal for you to cut grass. I'm like, really? I'm 40 years old. Like, I've never even heard of such a thing. I can't cut grass. And that's what she did.
You can't buy seeds.
And then I said, well, hold on, darling. Yep. We'll make the best of this. Let's paint our daughter's bedroom. No, you couldn't buy paint either. You couldn't buy paint. And then she said, well, hold on a minute. You can stay open if you're an essential business. And I said, all right. Well, there's laws that say that you have to get your grass cut or they'll give you a fine. In most places. But that wasn't essential. However, I would note, you could go buy lottery tickets, alcohol, you could buy cigarettes, even the strip clubs were open at that time. But you couldn't go to church either because that was also considered to be, she says legal, she says the law. Well, I heard him mention Catherine Henry earlier, and I'm going to bring her up in just a second. She's a good friend of mine and a fellow patriot that she's just awesome. So we're sitting here and we're thinking, well, what the heck's going on here? Then you saw the vice president get on TV, and he was a gentleman like he always is. He says, look, people, we have this plague, we have this virus. We just need everyone to sit here 15 days to slow the spread. And I said, well, hold on a minute. The government, they're here to help, and one of the scariest things you can hear is I'm from the government. I'm here to help. I said, all right, 15 days. All right, well, the lawns are starting to grow, but all right, I guess I can sit here for 15 days just to see what's going on. He said, this is Ebola, and there's like a 90% chance you're going to die. Maybe we should stay in the house for 2 weeks, I thought. But I was still suspicious. All right. And then, after that, 15 days to flatten the curve. Here we are, what, 9 months later? And they're saying that it's getting worse than ever before. Cover your face. Listen to Dr. Fauci. If you don't believe us, just shut up, you're dumb, you're an idiot. And they've been telling us all these things for 9 months, and then they keep telling us it's worse.
Conspiracy theorists, yep.
Now they're saying if you take the vaccine, that doesn't even matter, you're still going to have to wear a mask. And that 1 dose of the vaccine won't be enough, and you'll have to take it forever. So I think that's the general climate, but let's go back to, I'll just call her the governor. She's kind of like this virus. They call her so many things. I'll just be nice today and call her the governor. She's a real beauty, too, in a different kind of way. So, she's special, yeah. So, the governor came out, and she said, okay, as the Empress of Michigan, I'm just going to lock it down. It's all locked down. Everybody, just listen to me. I know what's best for you. And she's not a doctor. She doesn't know what's best for us, in my opinion, at all. But she said, we're going to lock you down. And then do you guys remember April 30th? I went to the Capitol, and I was there with many peaceful people. It was a family event. There was little kids, beautiful little kids, middle-aged, elderly. Everybody was there. We were exercising our right to keep and bear arms, which we should, because if we don't exercise our rights, they'll just take them away. They didn't give them to us, but they're always trying to take them away. And that date was very important because Michigan law says that she had a very limited amount of time that she could declare these emergency executive actions. And then after that, she would need the legislative approval, right? Because we have 3 separate branches of government in the state of Michigan and these United States, and we have the legislative, the executive, and judicial. Now you guys are just nodding. As long as I need to. Now we found 9 months later, she probably wants to keep them forever. But the legislator that day had to vote to extend. And there's a lot of faults with our legislator. They're far from perfect, but in this case, they did the right thing. They did not vote to extend. And that was the end of the law, and it was over. And I was at the Capitol, and there was a lovely lady there, and she was out in front of the doors. They had the doors locked. We were supposed to be able to go in. It's called the Open Meetings Act, right?
Right.
They locked the doors. There's actually statutes in Michigan that say anytime that the chamber is in session, it has to be open to the public. But they locked the doors. And there's this beautiful lady there, and her name's Catherine Henry, and she was out there, and she's like, let us in, you have to let us in. And then if you looked up, there's the rotunda, right? It's like round, and there's different stories in the Capitol that goes all the way up in the dome. There was people on the ground floor going all the way up, and we were just yelling, let us in, and the whole building was shaking, like literally shaking. And I called my representative, Joe Bellino, afterwards. He was in there. And I said, did you hear us? He's like, are you kidding me, babe? Like, we thought the whole walls were going to fall down. It felt like an earthquake. They heard us. They didn't vote. And it was over. And I looked at Catherine and I said, so what, it's over? She goes, no, it hasn't even started. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. Many things happened. The governor would get on there and lecture to us like we were petulant children every day, and she still does right now. Yeah. She actually had the audacity to get on TV, and I saw Tucker Carlson put a clip of it last night. He said he's going to keep showing it. She's wishing us a Merry Christmas. I don't know if you guys heard the news. I don't even pay attention to the news because it's mainly fake, but she's going to shut us down for Christmas now, she says. These lockdowns are going to continue on into January.
Yep.
Yeah. It was illegal, according to her, that you couldn't celebrate Thanksgiving with more than 2 people or whatever the heck it was. Again, I don't pay attention anymore, right? So she lectured to us like we were petulant children and said, I know what's best. You need to do what I'm telling you to. It's the law, it's the law, it's the law. But Catherine Henry, who is a constitutional lawyer, I have no idea how the governor passed the bar exam because she apparently has no idea of what the rule of law is or what it means to be a governor. But Catherine said, none of this is law. The law is very specific here. Well, then the legislators, if you remember, filed to the Michigan Supreme Court. And our friend Catherine Henry was one of the lawyers that got involved in that, and she actually did oral arguments in front of the High Court of Michigan. And they struck down the two laws, the 1945 law, the 1976 law. The one they said was completely unconstitutional. That was it. It's over. It's over. It was over that day. But she keeps going on and on and on, doesn't she? And that's why we're here today. And I know I've kind of been doing a lot of complaining, but it's okay to complain, I think, to a point, right? Because in my opinion, it's okay to be mad, and we should be mad. Does that mean we need to be mean to people? No. But we should be mad and angry that we're sitting here watching this great republic, you know, as the country was founded. And I don't want it to come to this. And some people say it might. I hope it doesn't. That's why we need to do what we're doing right here. We're trying to recall the governor, get her out. Now, I know the lieutenant governor, not good either. Okay, we got the attorney general, just as bad, worse, secretary of state. You just go down the list. And I've heard a lot of people say it doesn't matter. You get the governor out, who cares? The lieutenant governor will be worse. No, it does matter, because it's us taking a stand and saying, you're not here to protect our rights. This country and state of Michigan was founded on the consent of the governed, and as soon as they no longer have our consent, we're supposed to abolish, get them out, right? Well, it reminds me, I was driving here on the way. Now, I already have this with me anyways. I've been reading this every day. It's called the Declaration of Independence. And I passed a road on the freeway. It's called Concord Road. It made me think of Concord Bridge in Lexington. And you think of the shot heard around the world. And what that was is this country was founded on the principles of self-governance. And they were living here, and they were colonists at the time, royal British subjects, and the king was just imposing more and more tyranny. A lot like what we're facing in Michigan, right? And it wouldn't stop. And they tried all these different processes, and it just wouldn't stop. Look, we've had the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court shot her down. She said, I don't care, I'm above the courts, I'll just do whatever the heck I want. She thought she was doing something cute by shifting it over to MDHHS, which my friend Catherine Henry, who is a constitutional attorney, reminds us constantly, they're still under the executive branch. So if it's illegal for her to do something, it's also illegal for somebody that's below her to keep doing the same thing. But she keeps going on and on. It doesn't seem like she's going to stop. Well, the founding fathers of this country, they did the same thing. They wrote letters to the king. They tried diplomacy. They tried this. They tried that. And they said enough's enough. And I'm not trying to suggest that we need to start a revolutionary war in the exact manner they did right now, although I fear maybe someday it might be necessary. However, the principles that this country was founded on, these were people that were brave men 240 years ago. I'm not going to quote it because I'll get it wrong, but I'll summarize. Ronald Reagan said something like this. He said, freedom, right, is only one generation from being extinct. You're not just born with it. You know, your father, grandfather, great-grandfather fought in World War II. Many brave people to help save this country from the Nazis, from the communists. And they were brave people, but a lot of them are gone now. And it doesn't matter what they did in the past. It doesn't matter what Alexander Hamilton and George Washington did in the past. If we let them take our country away right now, it'll be gone, and we won't get it back. They say it'll take 1,000 years before we'll ever have a chance of having this republic, this experiment on self-governance like we have now. So we have to fight every single day. And I don't know about you guys, I have a little girl at home, and my whole goal is just to make this state of Michigan and these United States a better place for my daughter than a worse place. And I don't want us to have to tell our kids stories years down the road that, oh, at one time, we were this free country, and now we're just like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We're Americans, and we're never going to become a communist country. And I watched the governor of Michigan, and she just sits there, and she just acts so snide. But it's not just how she acts, it's what she's doing. I hope nobody hears a waitress or a bartender or a cook, because if you are, and you're probably having a hard time paying your bills right now, and I know people that are, and they're not paying their bills. The whole thing's crazy, and it just needs to stop. And I want to offer you guys some encouragement, and these are not my words, okay? But I think you guys should read this more often. I'll admit, I went years without reading this, and I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence. Just the intro of it. Now, there's a long list of grievances that are going to come after this that I didn't even print, but I think we have our own grievances with the governor of Michigan that we can list, and we can list them for a long, long time. And it just includes a few of the things that I said. And it starts off in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. That's where we get, these are laws of nature. These are God-given rights. Now, when we say God, for me it's the Christian God, and I'm proud to say that. But I also am a firm believer and lover of the First Amendment. I don't care what religion you guys practice. It has nothing to do with that. This is a free country where you can practice any religion that you want to, and you should. So whoever you believe created you, does anybody here think Gretchen Whitmer created them? Okay, good.
Thank goodness no.
I was hoping nobody would raise their hand. Gretchen didn't create you. She's not of nature. She's not of God. So I'll continue. A decent respect to the opinions mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Yeah, that's us. We're the people. We're equal. In God's eyes, in human eyes, we're equal to the governor. She's not above us in any way. And that's what this country was founded on. But they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you have that, what else do you need? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. And to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. It doesn't say that the government should decide. It's up to them, meaning us, we the people. We're going to decide what's best for our safety and happiness. Prudence indeed. Before I say this, people say, well, hold on a minute, how have we gotten here? Well, because they're going to do whatever we let them do, and they're never going to stop until we stop them, and she needs to be recalled. And why are people dealing with this so long? I've often struggled with that question, because you know what surprises me more than what she's actually doing to us? The fact that so many people are just sitting there and letting her do it. That's the most shocking part.
Right.
And this is, right?
Where's our representatives?
Yeah.
Where's the neighbors?
Right. Stand up now, but where were they?
And
Right.
that's what I'm trying to do, is offer encouragement to you guys to talk to your friends and your neighbors, right? So we're going to continue here because I was struggling for the answer. And it's actually right here, and it's been here for the last 240 years. Almost 250 years. It says, prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. That's a homework assignment. Look up what despotism means. And it also means Gretchen Whitmer, in my opinion. It is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies and of Michiganders. And such now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain, and I would note this applies to Governor Whitmer, is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. So I guess here's the deal. As long as people are still comfortable enough, people are creatures of habit, right? They're going to sit there and they're going to say, well, okay, it's just 15 days to slow the spread. All right. It's just 15 days to flatten the curve. It's just a mask. It's just the schools. It's just the children. It's just our seniors. What about our seniors? Well, she was making it illegal. Just keep this in mind, to put this all into context, and hopefully provide some motivation to throw off this tyrannical governor. Get her out. We don't need her here. It was illegal for me to cut grass, and I was cutting grass at a property in Howell, Michigan, 20 acres. Homeowner was in the house. I was out there on my zero-turn mower totally by myself. She has a police scanner. She said, you know what? You're pretty brave. I said, brave? I'm cutting your grass. She said, it's still legal to cut grass. And I said, no, it's not. These are all unconstitutional. She can't make laws. She said she heard 20 people on her police scanner calling on me that were driving down the road because I was cutting grass. But you know what the governor was doing in the meantime? She was taking our senior citizens, our most physically vulnerable, that were in nursing homes. And she was taking patients that have this plague, this virus, whatever it is. She was putting them in there. And these homes, countless times, were saying, but we're not equipped for this. We can't do it. She said, shut up. I'm the governor. I know more about medicine than you do. You're going to take them no matter what, or I'm going to revoke your license. And they did. And an untold number of seniors died because of that. Because of the virus and the plague itself, but also just dying of heartbreak and not being able to see their family. Because if we don't have hope, we don't have anything at all. And some of these people, that's all they have is the hope that they're going to see their grandchildren and their children. You know, I lost my grandmother 2 years ago. She lived her final few years in a nursing home. And that's all they had. But you couldn't go in and visit them in a nursing home. Right. You couldn't paint the walls of your daughter's bedroom. You couldn't buy seeds to feed your family. You know, I live near Lake Erie. You couldn't even go out on a boat. Just think about this while she's shoving sick people in with our vulnerable seniors, right? Lake Erie, you can't go out on a boat if it has a motor. Now, you can go out if it's a rowboat, because of course she had to incorporate the new Green Deal in, right? And then 8 months later, we're hearing about the Great Reset and all of these things that are scary, and they should scare you, and they should make you angry. Again, not to be mean to people, but angry enough to put a stop to it. Now we're out there and I'm thinking, well, hold on, darling, let's go boating. But we can't because she's going to do whatever, fine us, whatever. Out there on the rowboat, there's 15-foot waves, right? Well, that's safe, okay, whatever. Meanwhile, her husband says, I'm the governor's husband, put my boat in. We're out there thinking, do we want to go out? Do we want to go out on the rowboat with a heavy chop on Lake Erie today? Meanwhile, he's yachting and he's water skiing and he's doing everything he wants. Yeah. A lot of hypocrisy, a lot of stuff going on. But I think we have our encouragement right here in the Declaration of Independence. And I hope I can just keep driving by that Concord Bridge. It's literally on the way here. And I think there's still a lot of peaceful remedy. But we're going to have to get her out. Because if you look what happens in these third world countries when they have dictators and tyrannical leaders that keep going and going and going, it often does end in an armed rebellion, and I'd like to see things peacefully resolved. So I encourage all of you, I get it. There were 56 people that signed this document, okay? Well, there's actually more than half of that here right now. So we actually have half of the people that it took to actually write this and declare. So if you look at it that way, it's actually pretty encouraging that we're all here today together. But I just want to encourage you guys, you know, do what you need to do. If you're good people, just keep living your life like it's normal. This governor, she'll come and go, but I think she needs to go very soon. We're attempting to recall her right now, and all of you that have spent time doing that, that's awesome. You guys are my heroes. Like, literally, we have to have each other. So just make sure you're calling your friends and family. Just make sure they're okay right now, because a lot of people aren't okay, and a lot of people are depressed. And we can't let the cure be worse than the disease. And from what I see right now, that's what's been happening. So let's take encouragement from our founding fathers. I think they were very smart people, but just remember, even they didn't give us our rights. Our rights are given to us by our Creator. You're always going to have them. It's just up to you whether you're going to be able to keep exercising them. So, I don't know. With that, I offer encouragement to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we have Tammy K here, and she's a business owner of 20 years of experience. If this is wrong, this is off your sheet here.
You're right.
Control and MIOSHA certified expert. She's usually behind the scenes hero, but not this year. She's running right on scene, she's got a YouTube channel, and her and her cohort, Kristen, Megan Kelly, right? They've done, well, let me say this. Earlier this year, when the first mask thing came down, I'm thinking, no, this is BS. And before I knew it, you and Megan came on, and Kristen, sorry.
Kristen Megan, yeah.
Yep, and that was the godsend, because they broke it down, the whole mask thing. She ties out in her, OSHA experience. I will say though, I've done jobs with construction, and like, OSHA is a bad word.
I know.
But after all this, great respect, but give us a rousing applause for Tammy K. Clark.
Appreciate Amber inviting me. I feel bad because she's invited me to speak at other events, and it's just always been I've had something going on. But between my business, I still own my company. I've had the company for 11 years, but before that, I taught at the university level. I've consulted for different other companies, and so between my business, which is kind of on life support because I have been working very little of my own business for a while, when I decided to take the role with Stand Up Michigan as the executive director, I just got really busy between the two, trying to save the state of Michigan and trying to keep my clients happy. So Amber has reached out a few times, which I really appreciate. And I'm just, sorry I haven't been able to do more with more groups, but I have had my hands full and just been overwhelmed with what I have been doing and what we've been involved with. It's been very successful, but you can't do everything, and I am one who wishes I could. I do a lot of things, but I wish I could do more. So I'm glad I was able to make it here today. I appreciate the invitation. I was just saying before we started, before I was introduced, that I love meeting people in person. I love the FaceTime. I love to meet other Michigan citizens and connect with you all, look you in the eyes, shake your hands, give you a hug. I love meeting people and getting to know the other Michigan Patriots who are fighting right alongside of me. And what I'm doing really is for all of you. It's not just for me or my business. That's initially why I got involved, selfishly, because I refused to shut my business down. I was angry. And if any of you have come to our Stand Up Michigan rallies over the summer, you've heard me say from stage, this is a righteous anger. It's okay to get angry. God gets angry. Jesus got angry, flipped over the tables, called them names. But the Bible just simply says, don't sin when you get angry, right? So anger is an emotion. We were created in God's image, which means God gets angry. And that's okay. There is a time to get angry, and we are supposed to love the things that God loves, and we are supposed to hate the things that God hates, which is sin, tyranny, oppression. God came to set the captives free. It's Christmas season, and God gave us the greatest gift ever in His Son Jesus.
Amen.
Freedom.
Amen.
That's what He came to do, was to set the captives free, to give us freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, right? And so that's what He's all about. That's what the kingdom of God is all about. And so we are to love and embrace and appreciate freedom. So what we're fighting against, and the reason that I stood up and I accepted the position as executive director with Stand Up Michigan, was because I am a business owner. I have children, I have a family, and I am a significant portion of my family's income. If my business has to shut down, my family does not make it.
Amen.
And that simply was not acceptable to me. I knew that was not only not right, but I knew it was wicked at the core. To tell a person, a mom, a dad, that they cannot earn a living, that they cannot go to work and make a wage and feed their families, is not only just wrong and un-American, it's sinful. It is wicked at its core. Because what does the Bible say? If a man does not work, neither shall he eat. And what was our government telling us to do? Go sit at home, stay away from your family, stay away from your friends, don't work, just sit at home and collect a paycheck for doing nothing. That is not only wrong, it's ungodly, it's unbiblical. And that's where I stood up and I said, no, I'm not shutting my business down. I refuse to stop working. It is not only my right, my constitutional right, but it is biblical. And I have a biblical worldview. And I feel that we all, as citizens and as Christians and as believers, we all have a duty and a responsibility to stand up and fight for what is right. Fight for justice, fight for righteousness, fight for freedom, because that's biblical. And so we are at war. Make no mistake about it. They have declared war on us, and this is a spiritual war. What we are seeing being played out all around us in the physical realm, what we're dealing with Governor Whitmer, with these other governors, they're all acting right on cue. They're following the same playbook. In fact, I left, I was back in Chicago about a month ago, maybe, and Governor Whitmer had just come on and shut down the restaurants. And the very next day, I went to Chicago, and I was in a hotel when I heard Governor Pritzker come on and he said, almost word for word, exactly what Governor Whitmer said. It's like, this is so scripted.
Yeah.
And they think we're so stupid that we don't know what we're doing.
We are stupid.
Well, a lot of people are.
We wouldn't have what we got.
You're right, a lot of people are. And it's very frustrating because I said, and I try to be kind.
I can't be.
But the older I get, I've also said this from stage, so it's okay, I can say it again. The older I get, the less tolerance I have for stupid. Sorry. It's just true.
Or ignorance,
so,
yeah.
It's a little bit salty because of that. But I've stopped apologizing for that because that's the reason we're in the position we're in.
You say it better. It's okay to be ignorant, but it's not okay to remain ignorant.
I have a lot of little phrases like that I've been known for. And, some people say I'm too much. And I say, well, those aren't my people. Anybody that's going to say I'm too much for saying what I say, which is right and true, well, they're not my people. Go crawl back in your hole then. I don't care.
Amen.
Right.
I will still fight for those people. Because they have a right to remain like they are. They have a right to believe like they believe. They have a right to be non-confrontational. They have a right to sit down. But I'm going to stand up. Because I know if we don't all get together collectively and stand up and fight right now, we will not have anything to fight for and stand up for tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
So this is why I got involved with Stand Up Michigan, because they were looking for an executive director. And this was a group I had been following because I was working from home on my computer. And I stumbled onto this podcast. Some of you may remember back in the early days when Stand Up Michigan first started. It was Garrett Soldano started the Facebook group, Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine.
Yep, I was part of that.
Were you there in the early days? Okay, so I stumbled onto them at that time too. And it was when Kevin Skinner and Garrett were doing this Beauty and the Beast podcast. Do you remember that? Kevin with his big beard, and Garrett, Mr. good-looking sports guy, and then we got the bearded guy. And so it was the Beauty and the Beast podcast, and I loved it. It was so inspiring to me because I felt like there's other people out there that think like I do, and they were both business owners, just like me. And so it was very inspirational to me. I remember one day I was sitting working on my computer, and I had my phone kind of propped up, and I had the Beauty and the Beast going, and I was listening to them, and I'm doing my work. And Garrett came on, and he said, and it was almost like he was speaking right to me. That was kind of a God thing. And he said, we're at the point where we have almost 500,000 Michigan citizens following us, and we need to bring this organization, or this movement, to it become an organization that is structured, that can become effective, and actually start doing something about this. So we need an executive director to take it to the next level. And I just felt in my spirit, it was one of those God things where you know when it's God and you know when it's you. There's a difference. My heart started beating, and I just felt this quickening in my spirit, and I actually stopped typing and looked at the phone. And I thought, okay. And I knew it was the Lord telling me that I should apply, and I thought, well, Lord, how in the heck am I going to do that? I'm trying to run a business, and I've got a family, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I was supposed to do it. So I contacted them right away, and I said, here's the thing, guys. I've been watching you. This is who I am. This is my background. And the Lord is telling me that I need to apply for this position. So here I am. I'm just applying. The rest of it is up to you. The ball's in your court. Well, it was like 24 hours later, and I was hired and interviewing and meeting everybody. And then within 2 days, I was at the first, my first Freedom Fest, which was in Brighton. And so the rest is history, I guess. From there, I just really grabbed the bull by the horns and took this, what was a movement, and helped it to grow into a structured organization that has been very, very effective, as you know. What we did with the petition drive was historic, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the nation.
I was part of that too.
I know you were. You're a rock star. So it's been awesome to see, to be able to gather the people. But I think one thing that we've been able to do successfully with Stand Up Michigan is that the Lord brought individuals who didn't know each other together. And that was the coolest thing to me, because it wasn't anything Tammy did, it wasn't anything Ron did or Garrett did, or Kevin. We all just were drawn together, moved individually, and we met each other through this, and boom, it just exploded. Because of our backgrounds, because of our experiences, I think because of our leadership and managerial experience and background and business background, we were able to very quickly form a process, create a process and a structure to get this thing moving quickly and to succeed. So it has kept me busy, honestly, like 24/7 since I started in July 1st.
She's had like maybe one vacation.
And even after like workations, because I went to Miami, as you know, but it was working with Chris and Megan to bring education to schools, and we met some of the America's Frontline Doctors down there.
Well, when I talked to you last time, you're like, we're on a family vacation, a much needed family vacation. It's like, I don't blame you.
Probably a weekend up at my cabin or something. That's about all I get. Because cell phones don't come in up there, which is wonderful.
Right.
Otherwise I would be blown up all day long, and which is good. I'm not complaining. It's just, it's time to roll up the sleeves and get some work done. And so I've been really praying for the Lord as I stepped into this role. My goal has been, Lord, just use me, use my experiences, use my credentials, use my skills to be your mouthpiece. I'll be your hands. Tell me what you want me to say. Show me where you want me to go, and I'll do it. But I've really been focused on trying to bring unity, because there are so many different Patriot groups, and there's so much of this going on, and I've tried to just remain above that.
That's why I sent you that song.
I know, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate Amber, because Amber has been so positive and so encouraging, and I know y'all are hearing all this, this group says this, and this person from this group says this, and we've tried to just stay above that, not get pulled into that, because all it does is create division. And a house divided against itself cannot stand. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I just want to shake people and say, do you realize what you're doing? The Democrats are absolutely sitting back loving this infighting. Because we're shooting ourselves. We're killing each other, stabbing each other. Ultimately, you can't be effective if you're going to be fighting each other.
Right.
So I'm really excited about what we're doing with the Christmas extravaganza. Have you guys heard of it at the Capitol on Wednesday? It's going to be huge. It's going to be big. If you can come, I know it's December 23rd. It's 2 days before Christmas, and so there's parties and things like that. It's from 4 to 7 at the Capitol.
I got her meeting that night.
Yeah, and then we'll bring them all out there. We're going to have prayer there too.
Right.
Yeah, we got a couple of pastors that are speaking, and they are praying for the governor, for the government, and it is called When the Gretsch Stole Christmas event. People took it back.
Right.
So we have a live nativity. We have Santa coming. We're encouraging people to, we're going to have a parade with floats and lights and everything else, and we're encouraging people, decorate your cars, get some of those solar lights on your cars and flags and everything else. We're going to have a parade through downtown Lansing, and it's already been approved by the city, and we're also going to be speaking, Kristen, Megan, and I, we were talking about Kristen earlier. She and I are going to be dressed as the two Cindy Lou Who characters.
Oh my God, that's going to be so cute.
Well, she's got her one little schoolgirl up, and then she got her pink jammy.
And she's got the long hair for it.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be in rare form on stage, and there's a lot of great speakers coming. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But our kind of theme is the Cindy Lou Who, emphasis on who. We're gonna expose the World Health Organization and a lot of the corruption from the local levels all the way up to the global organizations, and what is really going on.
Right.
What is behind this? So it's going to be a fun event. It's a Christmas themed event, but we're not letting her get away with this. So all these different Patriot groups are doing this together, and we've come together, all the leaders, and we're trying to pool our resources, our skills, our connections, and we're all using all our platforms to share it. We have the funniest video I just shared on my Facebook and our locals group, Stand Up Michigan Locals group today, that one of the guys made, and it's hilarious. He actually acts this whole thing out with his family, with the Christmas music and everything about how Gretsch is trying to steal Christmas, and we've got her in full green. She looks just like the Grinch with her face, and so it's funny if you haven't seen it. But I would just encourage you guys, if you're available and you can come out to the Capitol, it's going to be fun. We've got vendors there selling sweet treats and hot chocolate, and Lots of fun. There's gonna be some prizes and awards and obviously prayer, Christmas message, but it's really just a stand-up event. I mean, I don't mean Stand Up Michigan, that we're only one of the groups putting this together. I mean, it's a stand-up event. Everybody in Michigan stand up and refuse to let her steal Christmas of all things, right? So there's a lot that we've been doing. There's a lot going on right now with the election. It is not over yet. Stop watching the news.
Newsmax or Ion are the best ones
Yes,
to watch.
I was just gonna say,
They're the only ones to watch.
Anymore,
Right.
Because Fox News is sold out, they're owned by Murdoch's, and
The people that stand up in their organization got fired, and they had longtime careers with them, so that tells you a lot.
I'm waiting for Tucker
Who
to
got
go.
fired, Amber?
The longtime career people that stood up in Fox and were actually going against what they were wanting to report and reported the truth, they lost their jobs.
Any of those guys, Levin?
One of them was a longtime career female that was up there. Yep.
And there was a Melissa Francis and a couple others.
Did Judge Judy?
I think Judge Judy.
Judge Judy isn't, she's not, I don't know.
Did you mean Judge Reno?
Right.
Yeah.
It's horrible. That tells you a lot.
Judge Janine, right, not Judge
Yeah.
Judy. So, anyway, there's a lot
But
going
if all
on.
those guys leave at the same time, you could sink Fox.
Right.
Once Tucker goes, that will happen.
Right.
But,
You gotta leave right now. If you all sign at the same time, that's what
Right.
I wanna share this with you folks. I was a member of Ox Nation. I was supposed to renew. This is what I told them, I wouldn't give them a dime
Right.
of my money. That all they were was another communist station. I laid it right out for them with no apology.
yeah, they don't.
And
No.
no, they don't care.
Just like
Listen, I did
Facebook.
say to them, if every born again believer that knew Jesus Christ is their personal savior would quit, and every conservative at the same time, we could sink you communists. And they won't do it. They'd have to do it all the same day. If Fox and Friends would resign, and from all week long, from 8 to 11, all those individuals would resign, Fox would have, at the same day, Fox would have to scramble to fill up those spots.
Well, of course they
Mm-hmm.
would, because now they're competing with the mainstream media.
Right.
And what gets me is Handy says the media mob. They're part of the media mob.
Right. Yep.
So, there's a lot going on, and my whole thing was, I haven't been involved with the recall petition other than I signed it and had people at our events with tables and encouraging people to sign it. We've just been so busy and swamped with what we're doing. We can't do everything for everyone, and we've got our hands
Right.
full. We're still in the middle of the lawsuit with the Secretary of State for the repeal 1945. She decided that she needs another year, Here's the interesting thing. So here's the interesting thing with this. So she said, Secretary of State decided that, the Michigan election, Trump only lost by 130-some thousand, and really that's enough, that we do not need to, hire more people, do this investigation, and all of this. There's no need for that. It's only 100 and some thousand. And so she dismissed that very quickly. Well, obviously, it's very one-sided, because we collected more than 200,000 signatures than we needed.
Right.
Now she's got to hire a whole team, and she's got to, we have to fully investigate this, and it's going to take us a year.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, this is so egregious. It is so obvious what they are doing, playing politics with this. When it comes to what they want, it's totally fine. When it comes to what we want, what the people say, it's not okay. We're going to hold you hostage and hold your petitions hostage. And so we knew this was going to happen with her. So we were fully prepared, and we filed a lawsuit against her to force her to look at the petitions. We've got you could take one of every 3 petitions and throw them out, and we'd still have enough.
Right.
So, this is ridiculous. And so we do have an ongoing lawsuit against her right now. Of course, everybody is saying, because the Democrats started saying they don't know how we did what we did. Because it wasn't through paid circulators. It was through 60,000
Yep.
Michigan citizens.
I got the email from
It
Gretchen
was the
herself.
start. It's never been done before. There
Yep.
were a few paid petition circulators, because that's how you always get a petition event done. But we didn't really need the paid petition circulators, and nobody could believe it. So because we hired the Unlock campaign, or we set them up as a campaign, that campaign was its own standalone actual political campaign, and it was funded by regulated funds, as all political campaigns are. And so those people ran that petition initiative. Stand Up Michigan is a completely separate organization. We're a political cause. Therefore, we can get behind and support causes we believe in. And so we support and believe in the repeal 1945 law, so we really supported that and ran with it. But we were not funded by that. So what happened was the Democrats started spreading these rumors that we had all this dark funded money. We're funded by dark money. And so they threatened to initiate a lawsuit against us. And we're like, go ahead. The only money that state of Michigan has ever gotten has been from the citizens' donations. Or we're selling t-shirts.
Right.
Right? Which is tough because we're paying marketing people. We're paying our web people. We're paying... I'm the only one on salary. It's a very modest salary. But, you know, we have expenses as an organization, and we've never crossed anything with the unlock because that would violate campaign finance laws. We can't do that. And so it's very clear, it's very transparent. But when the Democrats started this, some of the other Michigan Patriot leaders who don't understand what we're doing or how we did what we did started on the same bandwagon. And so I've yet to address that. For the most part, I just whatever, let them talk. They don't know what we're doing, so they're making assumptions.
We've had to deal with it with this movement too, where somebody tried to say we were done before we were done.
Yes, and see, why would they do that? All you're doing is hurting the people. All you're doing is hurting the causes that we're all fighting for. And there have been a couple times where I've had to step in and say, listen, you need to stop speaking to something that you have no information about because you're doing a lot of damage and you don't realize it. I wanted to say, you're being used of the devil, but I didn't go that far.
I laugh at them because they're like, well, the governor's only protecting us and our health and well-being. And I'm like, okay.
Right. And the only threat right now to the state of Michigan, to our health and well-being, is Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She is a threat to us. Suicides and depression has skyrocketed among our children.
Did you know they don't know the numbers? When they were asked by the legislature up there what the numbers were currently, they said, I don't know, we don't do that till the end of the year. He's like, we're in the middle of an emergency here and you don't have numbers? Like, what is going on?
No facts, no nothing. So this is why I've become very vocal about the facts, the science, because as a PPE expert, as a health, safety, and compliance expert, court-approved subject matter expert on this particular topic, I do have the science and the data and the facts. It goes all the way back to the 1970s. We're ignoring decades worth of science right now, and we're pushing something for which we have no science, no data, no facts. We've actually passed House and Senate resolutions, bills, demanding that the governor release her science and her data and her facts, and she has yet to do so. So there is none. And that's what I said, you know, even OSHA is guilty of revisionism because they created a respiratory protection standard in 1979 because you can't just force people to mask up. You can't just throw people in masks or respirators because it causes health hazards. So we have to follow a respiratory protection program if we're going to do that. This is why. So OSHA's violating their own standards right now. They're very guilty of revisionism. And so Kristen is my military counterpart. I have worked in the private industry with businesses. She has worked in the military, training military personnel. We do the same thing, same job. But she is also, in addition to my credentials, she is also a senior industrial hygienist. So we've talked with those officials in OSHA, and we've told them, you know that what you're saying is wrong. And if you agree that it's right, then you should have all your credentials revoked because it goes against everything you've been trained on. Everything. And when we call them out like that, they get real quiet and they stop talking and they go away. They were threatening Tri-Unity Christian School. They've kind of disappeared since Kristen and I stepped in. They were threatening Jimmy's Roadhouse. They've kind of gone quiet since we've started talking. And that's what we need to do. And that's why Kristen and I are not going to shut up and sit down and go away. Because the only way this is going to stop is if we the people take it back. And we make them afraid of us. Because we're also afraid of the government right now. And this is why we were talking about the restaurants. Where are they? Why aren't they here? The restaurants in your area should be here today. Where are they? They're afraid. But if they continue to be afraid of the government, this is never going to end. It's only when we get together collectively and stand up and we make this government afraid of us that this will finally end. Because when the people are afraid of the government, there's tyranny, right? But when the government is afraid of the people, there is liberty. And that's why I have been working so hard, day after day, trying to bring unity within the troops, trying to rally everybody together. Come on, guys, they can't control us if we all stand up. We've got to get our courage on, because courage is contagious. So stand up and fight like you've never fought before. We are in the fight of our lives right now for the heart and soul of this nation, for Western civilization, for Judeo-Christian values and principles, for our very way of life. And if America falls, so does the whole world. Because what would the world be without the United States of America? Absolutely decimated. We literally uphold, feed, support the entire world. And they know this. And that's why we are in an all-out war for the very heart and soul and existence of this country and of this world. So I don't think people realize just what is at stake, and that we cannot sit down. I've been willing to put my business on life support and make so much less money, it's ridiculous, than what I've been making. Ron Armstrong, his business has been decimated. He's not making a dime. He's been doing all of this as a volunteer. People don't know that. They make assumptions about us. And so then they start saying all kinds of things that are not true, instead of rallying with us, supporting with us. We know you're hurting. Our families are making far less money as well. We are going through the same things. I have children at home, and I have a freshman, a son who's 15. He's a young man, he's a boy who loves football and wrestling, and yet I have him crying like a baby on my shoulder. We're all in this together. We're feeling the same things. We're dealing with the same financial pressures, mental health struggles with our children. We get it. So stop complaining and stop fighting and stand with us. It's like, I'm a mom because I use the analogy of A Bug's Life. How many of you have seen A Bug's Life? And we're like the ants, right? And it was Flick, the brave little courageous ant, who said, if we all stand up, there's nothing they can do. And he got all those ants to stand up and come after those grasshoppers and scared Hopper away. That's what we need to do. I have that image in my head all the time, like I said, you can tell I'm a mom. Because that's what it is. That's where we're at. So I just wanted to encourage you. I don't know where the recall petition's at, or where the numbers are at, or where they're going to fall. I don't know, because I just haven't had time.
He hasn't made them public because he wants her still guessing.
Okay. So, I don't know where this all stands right now.
Yep.
But no matter what, here's the thing that I do know that you're probably feeling, because I feel it too. I struggle with it too. And God has graciously connected with me with some really good national leaders that have been in the political scene, that have been connected with the Trump campaign, that have been they're kind of their own public figures, and they've been very popular, and kind of a celebrity in their own world for years. And God has graciously connected us at Stand Up Michigan with some of these leaders, because we need the support too. We are out there on the front lines fighting for you guys 24/7, fighting for this state, fighting against tyranny, and it is so discouraging sometimes. You know what gets more discouraging to me than anything? When our own people attack us. When our businesses cave to fear. Sometimes I just think, what am I doing this for? If my own people, they're on my team, and they're going to fight me, and they're going to come at me, and then the restaurants that have been standing for so long, when they cave, it gets really hard for me to keep myself encouraged sometimes. So one of the people that I've been connected with, one of the public figures that I'm friends with now, I've gotten to be, build a really good relationship with him, told me, Tammy, you have to remember, because I called him just about in tears a few days ago. He said, you have to remember, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be highs and lows, and the lows are really low, because you know that everything is at stake. And it doesn't get lower than that. When you think, oh my gosh, our country is gone. It's just gone now. When you're thinking that, where do you go from there? There's no lower than that, right? So the lows can be really low. But you have to remember that we're in this for the long game. And so I keep telling myself that his words kind of roll around in my head. Okay, we're playing the long game. You don't turn the Titanic around overnight. It's going to take time. So no matter what, in these individual battles, yes, we won the repeal 45, but I don't know if we'll win the recall one. But we can't get so focused on the individual battles that we lose sight of the war.
It's the overall message, right? And anything worth doing is going to be hard.
Right. So we're in this for the long game. Don't get discouraged if the individual battle that you've been fighting, you lose it, because we're not going to lose the war. I'm convinced of that. So even if there's setbacks, even when you get lows that are really low, the Bible says, encourage yourselves in the Lord. That means we can encourage ourselves. He wouldn't tell us to do something that we couldn't do, right? So we need each other. We need to rely on that support from our brothers and sisters and our family, our Michigan family, our Patriot family, our Christian brothers and sisters, our Christian body. Encourage yourself in the Lord. It's okay to get discouraged, because that's normal, right? But don't stay there, because if we stop fighting, it truly will be over. We can't stop fighting until there's no breath left in us. Why would we? It's like I tell the restaurants, Why would you just cave? You absolutely have no future if you do that. Why wouldn't you at least go down fighting? Because that's courage. That's being a hero. And you at least give yourself a fighting chance, right? And so that's what we have to remember, that no matter what happens with the recall, no matter what happens with the individual battles or the causes that you are involved in, you're gonna lose some, because nobody wins everything. But that's okay, as long as we stay united and we stay together and we stay in hope, because the Bible says that hope deferred makes the heart grow sick. We cannot lose hope. We ultimately know that we win the war, right? So if nothing else, I haven't been involved really with the recall. I've been, like I said, signing it and encourage everybody else to sign it, and having them come to when we've hosted events and we've paid for those events, having them come and let them set up tables and stuff there. But like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen with it. I don't really care, to be honest with you. All I care about is that we keep fighting. We have to fight the fights that are ours. And as long as we do that, because somebody said to me, well, how do you just not get so discouraged? I mean, you're out there on the front lines and you hear this, and even the legislature, we'll have some of them come on, and we've tried to get them to use our platform to message, right, to get out to people.
Or I've invited you to go educate them on what they're doing, because they want educated, but they don't want educated at their level.
Yes. So they'll
Right.
come on and they'll say one thing when they're with us, knowing that you all are listening, and then we watch them go pivot, and then they go talk to somebody else and they say something completely different, and then people think, oh, you're just chumming with the legislature and blah, blah, blah. I think, oh my God. No, not really. We're trying to hold them accountable, and we can't control what they do and say, but we're trying to work in unity. We're trying to not make enemies of everybody. We're trying to hold them accountable. And have you noticed in the last couple days, all of a sudden they're responding, aren't they? What did the legislature just pass? What the House just passed? Are you aware?
So I talked about this earlier because I saw, is it Ron Armstrong's video yesterday?
Yes.
That they passed the repeal of the 1945 law yesterday.
Yes. The bill.
And they also set up a joint commission so she cannot issue any more executive orders.
Exactly.
Between now and whenever they come back in session.
Yes.
The only question I have is, it's supposedly retroactive to November 20th. So does that mean all these orders that she supposedly issued yesterday are void?
Well, we're gonna have to see what the Senate does with that, but it's on its way, right? The House has passed this. It should, because they've set up the Joint Commission. But what has happened, what this tells us is, all of a sudden the legislature is hearing you, because we have not shut up. We have continued to blast them, continued to reach out. And what's happening with this is it takes away their power, and it's about time.
Well, because they keep getting getting more creative, where he wants you to mask in your house because the kids are now virtual. He wants you to mask while teaching in your house, and I'm like, excuse me, what?
That's so backfired. Did you see the Gretsch on TV yesterday with her creepy Santa? I don't know who that was. That was her husband. I was like, oh my gosh.
I've stopped looking at her long ago.
I know. I have to watch it in my position. Lucky you.
I'm sorry, but I
haven't watched her once.
I know. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Happy hour starts in my house really early. So she comes on at 1 p.m. Just saying, I cannot get through watching her without a big glass of wine. Well, I've had a big glass of wine and it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I guess we're rolling into dinner. I mean, but at the same time, it's like I can't get away from it. I have to watch her because I have to know. I have to stay ahead of what's going on, what the opposition is saying, so that I can keep you informed and we can respond appropriately with the legislature. Because one thing about Stand Up Michigan is that we are not knee-jerk. We are not reactionary. I get people from all over the state send me stuff, call me. You have to put this out on the platform. You have to send this out. And I'll say, slow your roll. Let me double check that. Let me verify that. Because I would discredit our organization real fast if I just threw everything out there. And we created all kinds of confusion. There's a lot of stuff flying out around that is not accurate. It's a half-truth. But if you embrace that and run with it, right, you will discredit your organization and you'll never be effective. None of the legislature will ever want to work with you. And so we now are privy to inside information. So when somebody calls me and they say something, I had to do that just the other day with a very well-known person who's connected all around the state within a lot of groups. And he called me and he said, I need you to put this out because this is a call to action. It's very urgent. And I was thinking to myself, it was about the Rudy Giuliani situation. Now we knew at Stand Up Michigan he was coming in on Wednesday.
this person was calling me saying, the legislature is blocking him and they're not letting him come, and I was like, but I had been told I couldn't say anything. So all I could say was, well, I appreciate your concern.
I'll look into that for you.
But I can't put that out as a call to action. Well, by that night, there was all kinds of stuff flying around about staying at Michigan and how we're in bed with the legislature, so we won't hold them accountable and blah, blah, blah. All I can do is go, okay, I remind myself all the time. A person of integrity expects to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. So I was able to, after Rudy we had to wait till he made the public announcement that he was coming in. And then when he did, I could finally say, this is why I couldn't put that out there. I knew he was coming. We were told we could not make that announcement before he did. So it's not that we're chumming in bed with the legislature and we're trying to protect them. Not at all. Because if any of you have seen the interviews I've done with them, you know I ask them some tough questions. And I can't believe sometimes they come on. Because I give them the questions ahead of time. Right? And I even commended them like, Mom, I can't believe you're here. You know what I'm going to ask you. Because you've got some explaining to do. Because the people are asking me, and I'm not going to answer for you. They've elected you. You sit in their seat. It is your job to answer them. So we'll give you a platform that I expect you to start explaining, right? Because we've got hundreds of thousands of people that are going to hear us and listening. And they do. I mean, some of them will, and I give them credit for that. So last week, Saturday, I don't know how many of you saw my lives that we did. I had Representative-elect Steve Cara in the car with me for 8 hours, which was wonderful, because he got all this for me all day long. Here's what I need you to do, right? And so I just kind of, it was like part mom mode, and it was part, leader of a very well-known, nationally recognized organization. But my main message to him was, he's a lot of fun, we had a blast together, and we're totally on the same page. But my main message to him was, there's a whole new freshman class incoming in the House of Representatives that I'm very excited about. They are anxious, they are eager, they are sick and tired of the lack of leadership in the legislature, and they want to go grab the bull by the horns and they want to make a difference. Now, they're going to go through their training, and they're going to be told, day one, sit down, shut up, know your place, you're not going to come in here and shake things up like you think you are. And immediately they go, that's what happens, right? And you watch, and by the end of year one, they're not as vocal anymore, they're not as anxious. And I warned him, and he's worked for State Rep Steve Johnson, so he knows the game, which is great because he's already aware of some of the stuff. But what I really encouraged him was to please go and speak with the other legislators that are coming in, because we want to partner with you guys. We're not going to be the mouthpiece for the GOP. No. Because the GOP, as far as I'm concerned, all those rhinos need to leave and go start their own party.
Right.
We need to take the party back.
Yes.
And I'm not interested in starting a new party. They have abandoned their party and they need to leave. Right. We're gonna try to raise up leaders from within at the grassroots level. That's one of our goals with Stand Up Michigan, is to create some platforms, some training platforms at the local county levels, and take the intimidation factor away from running for office. Most people don't run for office because they're intimidated, but we want people to know. Here's what it looks like to run for school board. Here's about how much time you're going to have to put into that. Here's what it looks like to run for city council. It's not scary. Anybody can do it. You don't need a college degree to do this. All you need to be is a citizen.
Most of the school boards need retime.
School boards, well, this is where politics happens, is at the local levels, and we've given it away because of that. So it is time every citizen gets involved in whatever capacity they are able. So if we start with the local offices and the local elected positions, and we grow that into the state rep positions and the Senate positions, we will effectively replace the GOP from within. And
that's
our goal
how they
is,
infiltrated us in the first place.
that is how they infiltrated
Right
us.
at the grassroots level. There are districts throughout both of our counties. I'm in Jackson County. Okay. And these people are mostly in Calhoun.
Yep.
All of our districts have empty spots for your delegates. You get so many, and I am the only one in mine, and there's many of them that are vacant, 2 or 3 seats in each one of them. And it just takes people to stand up, you become a delegate, you could possibly get elected executive delegate, you sit on subcommittees, and one of the most important of the subcommittees is election selection. You go out and you vet people and you find your electors.
Yes.
These are important jobs, they pay nothing, They will take a little bit of time, but not a whole bunch. It's educational for your kids to watch you do it,
Yeah.
to take part in it, but nobody's doing anything. I mean,
And these
it's
are
just
powerful positions. People don't realize
Yes.
these entry-level positions that really don't take a ton of time, they're powerful.
They are, but you don't get paid.
I know.
You know, it takes some time, but there's no. But you don't even have to have a political aspiration. Like you as a delegate, you are the voice to the people of the GOP.
Yeah.
So you're the go-between. You're
Yeah.
the one that'll ask the questions. What's important to you? What do you want to see in a candidate? Who do you know? And make connections and relationships. But it is grassroots, like you said, and nobody
Yes.
wants to get involved.
Yes, well, and I think that the sleeping giant has been awakened. People all over this state, all over other states are angry, and they're not tolerating it anymore. And so I have been saying, I don't care really, I mean, I do care, but when talking about this topic, who lands in the White House, we have 4 years. And within 4 years, we can effectively restructure the GOP. If we roll up our sleeves and get to work right now, we can. And so here's the thing, Stand Up Michigan, we just announced our regional, we're breaking the state down into, I think we're finalizing it actually this evening. I have to do a live at 7, so I gotta figure it out by then. Ron and I were talking about it on the way here, 12 or 13 regions I think we're gonna have. And we have regional coordinators for certain regions, and we're looking for regional coordinators for each region. That we're going to have our very first regional meetings in January. And what the regional coordinators, so we're asking people, if you guys know anybody, let us know. If anybody's interested, let me know. Because our goal is by February to have identified some county leaders within the regions and start having county chapters established and chapter meetings.
I'll talk to you more about that.
Okay, I'll talk to you with you afterwards. That's how we are going to then create an educational training system for the everyday mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and whoever was interested, right? Just average old citizen out there to get involved at the local level so we can start taking it back. And once we get back into those positions, we will never let it go again.
I need you to educate these schools about the masking issue first.
Well, that's what Kristen and I did down in Miami last week. So we flew down to Miami. Some of you probably saw our videos, our adventures on the balcony was one. where they put us up in a penthouse and it was like 25 stories high. And the balcony wrapped around the entire penthouse. And Kristen's terrified of heights.
Me too.
So one night, after
There's a
little
wall.
wine, we had an adventure on the balcony. And it was all video live. It's hilarious actually looking back on it. But that was our fun. But we worked the whole time we were down there. So we met the Dr. Larry Pogosky from America's Frontline Doctor. He's a pediatrician. He's an emergency room physician from New York City. He met us there and we did a training all day long. We started early in the morning. We had a 4-hour session including Q&A with the teachers, the staff, and the parents. And then we did it again in the afternoon into evening. And it was all videotaped by the production crew from the Highwire, Del Beatrice Highwire, if you guys know who he is. So they flew out there, met us out there, and videotaped it. I haven't seen the release of the formal official video yet, but what our goal was to educate the parents, educate the teachers, educate the staff on the truth about the health hazards involved with prolonged mask wearing.
Well, because it's against Michigan state, it's against the Michigan law up here, and yet they're still doing it.
Absolutely.
And I bring it up, I get laughed at.
I know.
And I'm like, why don't you ask a expert?
An expert. So the cool thing is, this was the Seckond family. They are billionaires, philanthropists, very good people, very good conservative, freedom-loving people who flew us down there. They own the Seckond Academies. And they said to us, we want to hear from the experts. This is the first time anybody has ever said that to us. So we were just floored, like, what? And she says, well, we've been watching you. I've been watching your videos, and you know, a lot of people have around the world, but she reached out to us and said, if we fly you in, would you be willing to come in and do an educational seminar? And of course, Kristen and I said, absolutely. So the Highwire team flew in to record it and to make it into a professional production, because when you have the frontline doctors and you have Tammy and Kristen on there who are already well known as the mask experts, right? It is going to go global. And our goal is to make it free, make it available free to every school board in America.
Just like
That's
what
what we're doing with it.
Catherine's trying to do that with the U.S. and Michigan Constitution.
Great.
The U.S. is at like really cheap, where you can have a pocket book of it in your, like a little book that you carry around with you.
I do, I have
The
a copy.
problem with it is the Michigan one is so big and bulky, and it's $10 a book. They won't give a bundle or nothing. So she's been trying to figure it out, because she's like, the best way you can stand up for yourself in any situation is by the education that you have.
Right,
Whether
exactly.
it's from masking, whether it's from the laws and everything else, that's the only way you can really
So,
protect yourself.
We recognize that education, and those are the 3 pillars of Stand Up Michigan, is to care for the people. That's how we started, by creating a platform that people could come together, and you know, if you were part of MAEQ back then, it was just people coming together to talk, to share their stories, because we were so isolated. We were told you couldn't get together, you couldn't talk. So we started out just by caring for people and sharing with them. And then our second pillar is inform. So we've gotten real busy educating people. And when I took the position as executive director, they didn't even know that I was really a quarter-proof subject matter expert in masks. And I didn't say anything for a couple of weeks. It wasn't until they started talking about going back to school in masks that I started becoming real vocal. And then of course, Ron and Gary, everybody were like, oh my gosh, you're a what? You're a mask expert? But it really played, look at how beautifully it is married. This is just a God thing. Because I've been able to educate people through our platform to reach hundreds of thousands of people. And so education to us is critical. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to be working with Hillsdale College. I've already been talking to them.
Awesome.
And we are going to be providing education through the Stand Up Michigan platform and the local chapters to schools, homeschool curriculum, to educate people for free on the Constitution. Because you know what? The NEA has had an agenda for a long, long time to take over this country through re-education of our children.
Yep.
And they have done it. They've successfully done it. They have brainwashed our kids. They don't know history. They know nothing about history. In fact, the only history that they know is that our founding fathers were horrible racists and evil people. That's what our children actually think. So most people, even our age, do not know their Constitution. They do not know the Declaration of Independence. They don't know what their rights are. And so we have to get busy educating people again, so this doesn't happen. So we've already been in talks with Hillsdale, and we're gonna partner with them to not only educate the citizenry of how they can get involved at the local office level, and what does that look like? Well, take the intimidation factor out of it, and then people will do it. What does it look like to educate yourself on the Constitution, our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, right? So the Constitution protects the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is what gives us our rights, not the Constitution. The Constitution protects those rights.
Right.
And our elected officials swear an oath of office to that Constitution. So if they violate it, the Declaration of Independence then tells us, stand up and take their power away. People don't understand all of this. They don't even know anymore.
Or the separation of powers, because even Gretchen doesn't know that one.
Right? So that's where we're going.
So she's counting on us being uneducated, but how many legislatures do you think have never bothered to crack open a constitution either?
Oh, they're very uneducated. Very uneducated.
So-
Do you know that a lot of these legislators just rely on their staff to read the bills?
So
That's how the vaccine bill got passed.
That's why Catherine's been going after him and saying, if you don't hold up to what you're supposed to, then.
Your favorite person.
Well, unfortunately, she's made enemies out of all of them. And that has been, I've actually watched that, and I've been like, okay, I don't want to make enemies out of everybody. My goal is to affect real change. I'm not going to be able to do that if everybody is my enemy.
But
So,
her ability to
trying to-
rip off the articles and the sections.
yes, because she's an attorney. That's her
But
role.
the
Right.
thing is
Yeah.
that you don't have to read the Constitution to get through law school. And
No.
you don't have to read the
No.
Constitution to
It's
go
just
to
like
law school.
educators.
I know.
How many superintendents actually know education, just like,
No.
Gordon. He knows nothing about the health field.
He's an attorney. What is he doing mandating health rules?
She's like, did you know he's not even a doctor? Like, what difference does it make? They don't care.
No, I know.
It's never been about a stinking virus. It
No.
has
Most
never-
hospital workers think that they know about masks and don't realize that there's people like her in the background that educate others about that.
They have been able to operate outside of the law the entire
Right.
year.
Yep.
And no
Right.
pushback.
Right.
And our citizens
Are following
submitting.
blindly. Yep.
That's the thing that breaks my heart the
I know.
most.
It's like, how can you follow it blindly? That's just horrible.
That they don't have And I'm like,
I know, and that's hard. So we have to re-educate.
right,
People have been re-educated, well, we've gotta undo that, we've gotta re-educate them.
Well, it's just like,
Totally.
it's like the whole impeachment that they want to back now versus the recall.
Yeah,
It's awesome that they want to do something, but the impeachment moves people up that we might not want there, and then you have to do the process all over again.
yeah.
The recall,
Successful impeachment is the next step.
right, but I'm saying like ultimately the recall would be the best thing
Sure.
because you have a special election
Yeah.
and you get to
Yeah.
put somebody better in, so.
yeah. Our conversation while we were waiting for you to get here is, all of them have to be replaced.
Yes,
Right.
There's a long list.
they do,
But
they
they
do.
have to be replaced with the right
People, yep.
If we put more establishment politicians
Yep.
in there, we're just,
I know,
the problem.
Well, that's the problem is like everybody,
Gonna continue, so
right.
that's
Everybody
why
was
it's so
divided.
important. And I was telling them, and you're setting up these local chapters, I'm like,
Yep.
get one in your church. It may be
That's-
10 people.
Thank you for saying that. That is what we're gonna encourage our local chapter people to do, to go to the churches in their counties that are open and use those facilities.
Right.
Because if the churches that have remained open will allow you to meet there, you can tap into an entire congregation for one thing, and people from all over can come because they're large enough to hold 100, 200, 300 people in your meetings, right?
Well,
Otherwise, you may not be able to do
so
that.
a lot of us have left our churches.
Yes, I know. I'm one of them too. And my doctor and my dentist. I have a whole.
I haven't had those. I haven't went into the doctor's offices because as medical people, they have no accommodations for special needs issues.
I know.
And my chiropractor's been great the whole time, but she's grassroots chiropractic, so
Chiropractors are.
Mhm.
It's interesting to me because
they're
it's
like,
more natural.
they could be more holistic doctors. And I'm like, okay, so I asked her, how much more education would you need to be one?
Right.
Because then I could just come to you for everything.
I hear ya.
I'm encouraging, so I'm finding there's a little country church, it's wooden pews and a piano in the front, and I can't wait. These mega churches are political bodies themselves.
Well, somebody said that it's not the religious aspect, it's the organization where it becomes corrupt because they get into these large organizations and it all has a lot of corruption with inside.
501c3, they are controlled by the government a little bit.
Mhm.
That's the problem. And there are
Except
some
for me.
churches that say, fine, take my 501c3 status out of
Right.
here. It's no different
I don't
than
have
what
one.
we're telling the business organizations,
Right.
the restaurants. You know what?
Those are the churches you want.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta not care about your business license.
Yeah.
You gotta just keep going. If they put locks on your doors, you better buy yourself a set of bolt cutters and cut them up every day and
Right.
just keep going.
They'll be the most biblical ones also.
Yes,
because
you're right.
They're
freedom loving.
they're pure.
Right.
They're patriot,
They're
right?
not tainted.
That's right. That's very true. And they're not worried about, kind of like our legislators playing politics. They're worried about appeasing this side and this side and this all at the same time.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, that's what we're encouraging people to do, is start local chapters, find churches to gather in. We're even starting to hear about churches. There's one in, Corona, that whole Owasso area.
Mhm.
There's a local deli that has stayed open, and it's the only one in town, and she's become very, very busy. So the church is opening and telling people, go get your food, and if you wanna buy takeout from the